So today I'm going to share our work with you about low-cost water filters using a plant tissue called xylem. So we all know that there is a lot of issues with drinking water all around the world, and a lot of people do not have access to safe drinking water, which causes a lot of waterborne diseases, and the major burden is in developing countries. So among the many barriers that can prevent waterborne diseases from spreading, household filtration is an important barrier that can go a long way because it occurs right before water is consumed. And if we look at what kind of technologies are available, what we find is that reaching the very bottom of the pyramid, the poorest of the poor, is extremely difficult. So we see different water filters ranging from high-end products which are unaffordable for the poor, but actually quite common in the urban areas in developing countries. And so what we have in the rural areas is more gravity-driven and particle filters, which also have issues of either being ineffective or difficult to access and still having significant costs. And other water treatment methods such as chlorination or boiling are available, but they have each their pros and cons. So if we look at surveys, why people do not use water filters, one of the key things that comes out is the cost. And this goes hand in hand with awareness of this issue. So maybe there is no silver bullet for this, and we have to look at multiple different technologies, but can nature help? And that's the question that we asked after I attended this NATO-organized conference that's in Israel, which brought together engineers, biologists, and other people who are looking at water in confined spaces. And we have all seen this water transpiration through plants in school, right? So water is going up through the roots. It's drawn by evaporation. But what we maybe don't know is that the pressure in these trees can actually be negative. So it can be a tension. So water is actually under tension. And so because of this, plants face a pretty big challenge. And the tissue that conducts this is the xylem, which has to do this job. And you can imagine if the water is under tension and there's a vapor bubble, it's going to dry it up. So to resolve this issue, plants have evolved a very interesting xylem structure. And so you see this hierarchical structure, and the smallest length scale on the right, you see these membranes. And the way this works is that the xylem consists of these short-ended tubes, and these membranes serve to trap any bubbles and prevent them from growing. So now you don't get the plant xylem drying up. And so if you look at the length scale of these membranes, that's a 2-micron scale bar, and bacteria, protozoa are going to be on that order or larger. And so the question arises, can we use the same membranes to filter out microbes from water and provide clean drinking water? So we looked at different tissues of xylem in different plants and figured out that you can actually make these into filters from coniferous sapwood, which is the lighter colored wood that conducts the sap. And this is an example of a very simple filter made from a pine tree branch. And on the bottom left, we can see that we have E. coli bacteria that are being trapped in these membranes, and we can actually get 4 orders of magnitude reduction in the bacterial concentration. So we were very encouraged by these results because if this works out, there could be a lot of potential advantages. So these are simple to make because these membranes already exist. So you don't need high-end facilities, specialized chemicals, good process control to get this to work. It can be eco-friendly. They are biodegradable. You can harvest them from branches in a sustainable manner. And they're also very cost-effective because a piece of wood that goes in this filter is actually about $0.01. And even accounting for any subsequent processing and labor, it's on the order of a few cents. However, there's also challenges in that biologists have studied xylem for a long time, but engineers have not. So nobody has looked at it as an engineering material for water filtration. And so we soon ran into problems like it gets blocked if we try to dry it for shelf life, or if we even flow clean water, it gets blocked. So these were puzzles that we worked on for several months to address. And I don't have time to go into detail, but we developed very simple techniques to resolve these. So we studied how the flow rate scales with area and pressure, looked at different species and showed we can get good rejection. And we developed simple techniques like soaking in water, in ethanol and hot water, which will help resolve some of these issues. And through this, we are able to make these filters. So this is a 4-centimeter diameter filter driven by gravity, which can get good rejection and process up to 50 to 100 liters at flow rates of about 3 liters per hour. So this was very encouraging, and it's the step, it's very close to the kind of specifications one would need. And then these are so inexpensive that we envision these would just be replaced every week. So we have also validated these in the field and obtained very good rejection data. So that's Kritika, a student at an actual spring, which is a source for one of the villages in North India. And we can see across different filters, most of them result in undetectable levels of bacteria after filtration. In collaboration with D-Lab, led by Amy Smith, who's a co-PI on this, we have also started looking at what the users think about it. And so a lot of interviews in households were conducted, co-design workshops in these rural areas of North India. And among the things that came up, were very promising, was that among the people there's very high acceptance of wood as a filtration material, and there is a strong interest in making these filters. So we think that this could open up a new possibility of a kind of a model where local entrepreneurs or small businesses could make these filters. And that makes a lot more sense for low-cost filters as opposed to a large corporation making them high-end filters and then having to invest in a supply chain, which is not very economically attractive. And so the question still remains, will Xylem address a gap in water filtration? And we believe that there is hope. And again, this is an excerpt from a survey that is conducted at MIT. This is a site survey, which highlights the need for better mechanisms of financing because that's really what keeps gravity-driven filters out of the people's hands, because after a few months, you have to buy a $10 replacement cartridge. And so maybe there is an opportunity here. If you look at India, these shampoo bottles don't sell because they are more expensive, but these sachets sell. And so maybe there's a similar model for water filters where instead of having a cartridge that you replace every few months for $10, every week you replace a filter element for a few cents. So that's all I have for you, and I'd like to thank all our sponsors and also all the team members, collaborators, and our facilities. Thank you very much.